Hey everybody, it's Jim. It's June 15th, 2026. I have an update. I got rid of a few books in the last week or two. I picked up a few books in the last week or two, and I thought I would give you a little book haul video. So back up the truck. We're going to talk a combo book haul today on Great Books, Big Ideas. Let's start with the books that I got rid of. I got rid of the Honesty Crisis book. I unhauled that, gave it away, donated it. I reviewed that book a few weeks ago. And then I also unhauled, this was hard, 3 cloth-bound, very good condition, Great Books of the Western World titles. I do not have a complete set of the first edition cloth-bound books, but I did collect maybe about 10 or 12 of them, and I'm starting to unhaul those, and I have reasons for it. It's hard though, because these are actually, in terms of like the quality, I think I prefer the cloth bound to the leatherette ones, and they hold up better. If you can find some in good condition, they really look beautiful. But you know, I have limited shelf space. I have no plans to collect a full set of the cloth bound editions. I mean, where am I going to put these books? It's already duplicated really twice in some instances, because I've got my parents' Great Book set. Those are the ones I usually hold up, the leatherette ones that have the kind of tan naugahyde look, and then the 1990 second edition, which has the black leatherette, I think it's leatherette covers, and those are still holding up pretty well. They're not as old. My old first edition leatherette, like they are definitely battered by this point. Those do not hold up well, but there's so much sentimental nostalgia value applied to those, I can't conceive getting rid of those. It just would be too hard to part ways with them, and these are the books that I've mostly read in the Great Book set. So these cloth bound ones are kind of extras. So I'm just trying to whittle it down to some of my favorite books that I have, and the ones that are not as essential. They're already duplicated. These are the ones I got rid of. So as a long prelude, the ones I got rid of are the Descartes Spinoza volume, the William James volume, and the Adam Smith volume. I have all these in the first edition. They're actually all in the second edition. So we are really talking about redundancy here. And, you know, I gained about that much shelf space, and every inch counts in bookshelves. So as tough as it was, I gave those away. Then I've been getting out more on walks, and I've been scouting little free libraries in the neighborhood, and I was really happy to find this title. It's Pat Barker, Regeneration, a novel. This is historical fiction about World War I. I'll read you the blurbage and give you a little bit of backstory here too, because this, well, we'll get into it. So it was chosen by the New York Times as one of the best books of 1992, so it's not a new book. In 1917, Siegfried Sassoon, noted poet and decorated war hero, publicly refused to continue serving as a British officer in World War I. His reason? The war was a senseless slaughter. He was officially classified as mentally unsound and sent to Craig Lockhart War Hospital. There, a brilliant psychiatrist, Dr. William Rivers, set about restoring Sassoon's sanity and sending him back to the trenches. Regeneration is the first novel in Pat Barker's acclaimed World War I trilogy. This is the first one, which continues with The Eye in the Door and culminates in the 1995 Booker Prize winning The Ghost Road. Pat Barker, at the time of this publication, is the author of 16 novels, beginning with her working class masterpiece Union Street in 1982, her Regeneration trilogy novels, set in the First World War were awarded the Booker Prize in praise of some of the greatest historical novels in British literature. So if you're into historical fiction, you maybe know about Pat Barker already. I haven't read any Pat Barker, I'm sad to say. But I had a colleague at work I taught with. Her name is Jane. Just a terrific person. She does a lot with teaching, writing in the prisons. She's just an amazing person, does incredible service work. And she's really into historical fiction too. And she used to rave about Pat Barker. And I think expressed shock that I haven't read any Pat Barker, but it always registered with me. Like, if Jane likes Pat Barker, Jim's got to read some Pat Barker at some point. So I'm now going to finally get around to reading some Pat Barker. So I scooped this up immediately when I saw it. I was really happy to get this. And I started reading it. I just sampled the first chapter or so. It looks great. Like, I'm already, I'll read this probably this summer for sure. The other reason this is kind of timely is within the last year, I've been reading a lot about World War I. So I read the Penguin Anthology of World War I poetry, which was excellent. And there was something else I read about World War I, and it's slipping my mind right now. But it's been on my mind. I am a bit of a historical buff. I've learned a lot more about World War I within the last 10 years. I've learned a lot about trench warfare. Oh, I remember the other book I read. This was a biography of C.K. Scott Moncrief, the first English translator of Proust. And C.K. Scott Moncrief served in World War I, was a war vet. And there was a lot about World War I in that biography. And that got me interested in it. And people like Sassoon and Rupert Owen and, Moncrief knew a lot of these guys. So Robert Graves and so forth. So that, it's all the things are kind of coming together. The stars are coming together here. And this was a timely find. So I think I'm going to read this first in the trilogy, Regeneration. Really looking forward to it. Then a few days passed, maybe a week, and it was a hot day. We've had some hot weather here. It's improved a little bit in the last couple of days. But we had a little mini heat wave here in Pennsylvania. And I was housebound, but I was itching to get out. And I was also wanting to use some car air conditioning, like nothing like air conditioning in the car to improve your mood. And so I thought, I'm going to go scouting. There's a public library here in Chester County. We have a system. I have a library card. My local library is within walking distance. It's about a 15-minute walk from here. And it's a beautiful little library. I'll share some photos of it next time I go visit it. But there's other good libraries in the county too. And there's one up in an area known as Chester Springs. It's getting up into northern Chester County. Really lovely countryside up that way. And there's a library I think it's called the Henrietta Hankin Library. And it's sort of attached to one of these new urbanist suburban developments where they try to make it look like a little small town. And it's actually a pretty cool looking little housing development. It's been there now probably for 15, 20 years. The trees are maturing. It looks kind of like a nice walkable neighborhood. Well, anyway, they have a little bit of stuff in the corner of this development, like the library is there and a few businesses, offices, and things like that. Anyway, this library has a bookshop inside the library. They used to run like a big sale like every year, once or twice a year, that I remember going to, and it was a good one. But now it seems like they maybe don't do that. They have this little bookshop called the Book Nook. And I've never been to it, so I wanted to scout it out. And you go in there, and it's like a big sort of main lobby area, and then off to the side is this very small room called the Book Nook. And they They have books for sale there, and like DVDs and CDs and things. But they also run what they call table sales right outside of the book nook. So spilling out of the small room, there was plenty to look at. They had about 3 or 4 tables and some carousel shelving. And I spent a good 25 minutes probably browsing all the books and DVDs and things just to see what I could find. Prices weren't bad, like $3 for paperbacks, for trade paperbacks. And some stuff was a little cheaper and some stuff might have been more. But I found 2 trade paperbacks there. And whenever I see these kind of books, I generally pick them up. And that's exactly what happened here, even though I can't tell you much about these authors at all. I didn't pick them up for the authors or for the work. I picked them up because of the publisher. And that is NYRB Classics. So I found 2 NYRB Classics for $3 a piece. I thought that was a good deal. These were ex-library books. The first is called Samsakara, A Rite for a Dead Man by U.R. Anathamurthy, translated by A.K. Ramanujan. I'm sorry for slaughtering the names. These are Indian author. And it's described as follows. It's one of the acknowledged masterpieces of modern world literature, a book to set beside Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart and Tayeb Salih's Season of Migration to the North. It begins when Naranapa, an inhabitant of a small South Indian town and a renegade Brahmin who has scandalously flouted the rules of caste and purity for years, eating meat, drinking alcohol, marrying beneath him, mocking God, unexpectedly falls ill and dies. The question of whether he should be buried as a Brahmin divides the other Brahmins in the village, and they turn for advice to Pranashacharya, the most devout and respected member of their community, an ascetic who also tends religiously to his invalid wife. Pranashacharya finds himself unable to supply an answer, though an answer is urgently needed, since as he wonders and the villagers wait and the body festers, more and more people are falling sick and dying. But when Pranashacharya goes to the temple to seek a sign from God, he discovers something else entirely, unless that something else is also God. Piquing my interest. Samsakara, beautifully translated by the great poet and scholar A.K. Ramanujan, is a tale of existential suspense, a life and death encounter between the sacred and the profane, the pure and the impure, the ascetic and the erotic. And that is the first NYRB title. $3, call that a bargain. The next is a title, The Corner That Held Them by Sylvia Townshend Warner, with an introduction by Claire Harmon. And what's this book about? It's a historical novel like no other, one that immerses the reader in the dailiness of history rather than history as the given sequence of events that in time it comes to seem. Time ebbs and flows, and characters come and go in this novel, set in the era of the Black Death, about a Benedictine convent of no great note. The nuns do their chores and seek to maintain and improve the fabric of their house and chapel and struggle with each other and with themselves. The book that emerges is a picture of a world run by women, but also a story, stirring, disturbing, witty, utterly entrancing, of a community. What is the life of a community, and how does it support or constrain a real humanity? How do we live through it and it through us? These are among the deep questions that lie behind this rare triumph of the novelist's art. And that is Sylvia Townshend Warner, an author I'm not familiar with either. And yeah, I just love these NYRB covers, like the book design for paperbacks. It doesn't get much better than this. Floppy, readable, nice page quality. Yeah, they feel good in the hands. The problem with these is that these were ex-library copies. So there was stuff like on the spine, you're taped and glued, you know, library books. So I spent a good half hour peeling all of that off, these titles. And I did a pretty good job, but there's still a lot of stickiness here. So if you have tips for how to get like the sticky glue off of these paperbacks, let me know. Because what's happening is if a book sits on top of it, then it's going to leave a trace. That's what happened here. This was actually pretty clean, but there's just gunk here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that residue. So I know I need to kind of clean these better. But I was really happy that I didn't tear anything when I got all this stuff off. And I made them into clean copies. So again, if you have tips for getting the gunk off, I'm all ears. Last but not least, on that same trek, back in the car, getting my air conditioning, sucking down the air conditioning, I went to a Goodwill store on the way back. And this is in an area called Marchwood, which is just above Exton in Chester County. And I don't go to Goodwills as much as I used to. My wife is a huge thrifter. She likes to go thrifting, and she hits the Goodwills a lot more often than I do. She spends a lot more time in the stores than I do. But I every now and then like to browse. I was in another Goodwill in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, a couple weeks ago after my haircut. I got my haircut over there, and yeah, I looked for some stuff there. I didn't buy anything. They didn't have anything. But this Goodwill, I've noticed, the one in Marchwood I noticed lately has improved their book department. Like there's a lot of books in the back of the store. And they had a lot of DVDs too. I didn't see the prices of the DVDs. It turned out that they were like $3 each, which isn't bad. And I almost bought some DVDs, but I put them all back because I was trying to save money. And the two books I did buy they were both paperbacks, and they were $3. Well, the prices are going up at Goodwill. I don't know if you've noticed this in your area. Inflation is impacting even the thrift stores. But yeah, the DVDs I didn't get, I might as well mention, is and sometimes I think I should have gotten these because I don't know, I was kind of in the mood to find some video. But anyway, I found and put back Logan's Run. Remember that 1970s sci-fi film? I really liked that film, and it was cool to find it on DVD. I put back a 2-disc sort of special edition set of Casablanca, Humphrey Bogart film. But I think I already have Casablanca on DVD. I haven't cataloged my DVDs, and we don't have a ton of them. But I was like, okay, I know this film backwards and forwards already. This looks really nice, but I probably don't need it because I probably already have it at home. And there was Life of Brian, the Monty Python film. What a riot that is! Was it Life of Brian or Monty Python and the Holy Grail? It might have been Holy Grail. But it was a Monty Python film. And again, I know those films backwards and forwards. I don't think I've got those films on any of those Monty Python films on DVD. But, you know, you can probably stream them. And, you know, it's got to be something special for me to fork over some cash for a DVD or a Blu-ray. So I put those back on the shelf. And what I did end up getting were 2 books from a trilogy. And they're by C.S. Lewis. And C.S. Lewis, in addition to Chronicles of Narnia, he wrote at least one trilogy of, like, I guess you'd call it sci-fi fantasy. And I found the first 2, Out of the Silent Planet. And these have vintage paperback covers. I remember these from back in the day. And Perandra, the second book of the trilogy. Have you all read these? Let's talk about it. So these are reprints of 1960s paperback. So this is a 24th printing, 1978. But they preserved the cover art from the 60s paperback, which is one reason why I got them. Because, you know, book design means something to me. This was also 21st printing, 1978. I was looking for the third one, and I went 2-3 times through the shelves. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. You know, that was a little frustrating. It would have been nice to score all 3 in one go, but you know, it is what it is. I'm glad I found the first 2. So the beginning of the trilogy is Out of the Silent Planet. And we don't get any details about it on the back. Let's see if there's anything in the front. I don't know what this book's about. It just says, C.S. Lewis is a master of fantasy. A delightful fantasy, says New York Herald Tribune. And yeah, so this is just the beginning of a celebrated space trilogy. Let's see if there's any more clues as to what this trilogy is about from the second one, Perandra. This is, okay, now we get a little bit better. A sharp, sophisticated fantasy dealing with an old problem, temptation in a new world, Perandra, the newest planet in C.S. Lewis's celebrated space world. Perandra, the planet Venus, has been invaded by the devil's agent in the shape of an English physicist, Dr. Weston. Evil joins battle with good, represented by Ransom, the philologist, as Perandra and its queen and lady mother faced a choice between ascending to perfection or following an older world to corruption. This is the second book in the famous space trilogy, which began with Out of the Silent Planet and is concluded with That Hideous Strength. So we've got 1 and 2, but not That Hideous Strength. It'll turn up someday. But the book design grabbed me. I haven't even read all the Chronicles of Narnia. I think I only read the first one, but I do like C.S. Lewis. I've read some of his Christian apologetics. He was a good literary critic too. I've read some of that literary criticism. Good writer. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he handles like sci-fi fantasy genre. So yeah, if you have thoughts about these, let me know. That's my book haul. Really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that I hauled, 4 books that I unhauled, and let's hold them up all together. The 2 NYRB classics, the Pat Barker Regeneration, the first of a trilogy. It's sort of a trilogy theme here, isn't it? And Out of the Silent Planet and Perandra, the first 2 of the C.S. Lewis trilogy. I call that a kind of interesting, diverse haul. Some new authors from NYRB books that I'm looking forward to reading someday. And I'll add that to my NYRB Classics collection. I'm curating my great books of the Western World collection, getting rid of some like non-essential, redundant titles. And found the Pat Barker, some good historical fiction, C.S. Lewis. I can't complain. It was some summer days well spent. Let me know what you're finding out there in the wild. Any good pickups lately? Any books you got rid of? Let's talk about why you're getting rid of them. Hope you enjoyed this little peek into my book world. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.